Welcome to Talking Hoosier Baseball. We are recording this on Tuesday, May 2nd, 2023. I am Carl James, joined by Cassidy Palmer and Chris Feeney. The Indiana Hoosiers hosted the Maryland Terrapins over the weekend and dropped all three games. It was quite a slugfest from Maryland's batters. Indiana finally joined the parade on Sunday, but were not enough to be able to pull out a win on the series. So Indiana dropped that game 14-8. The other two games were really not all that competitive. There were some things that were positive that Indiana could take from it, but series sweep was not what Indiana was hoping for, and we'll kind of delve into that as we discuss the weekend and what's going forward. Cass, what's on your mind this week?
Well, and I would like to point out, as Austin Render mentioned multiple times on the weekend, this was the first home series sweep since Minnesota in 2011, which goes to show just how solid a home field advantage there is at the BART, knowing some of the teams who have come in here have come to the BART over the last decade, and no one's been able to do what Maryland did.
Yep.
So I did want to throw that out there. Other than that, a weekend like this does not take much by way of analysis. Maryland was hitting everything, and even when they weren't, they were getting quite a few. It felt like there were a lot more free passes compared to the season leading up to that point. Felt a bit more like last year's pitching from that perspective.
Yeah, I'll just disagree on one point, which is
Mm-hmm.
I think it was those started by the hitting, and I think that just kind of happens to where it's like, okay, if I'm throwing and I'm locating my stuff and it's getting clobbered,
Yeah,
then as a pitcher I may be trying to nibble more. And
that is fair. And one of the walks I would vehemently disagree was a walk in the first place. One of them, it was very clearly strike three and not ball four, but in the grand scheme of things, with the way the games played out, that one call, there were, I am not blaming it on the officiating in any way, shape, or form. I'm not trying to make that excuse at all, but these umps were crap all weekend. Just gonna say that, but then on the offensive side, game one, you strike out a third of the at-bats. That's rarely going to go well. And then in game two, you hit ground balls 67% of the time. And that's including the hits for the ground balls for hits. I mean, hell, at one point, I think this was in game three. In game three, Matheson had a ground ball double through the shift.
yeah,
Like it.
there were three guys on the right side of the infield, and he managed to find a hole
and get to second.
Yeah,
like that.
Well, it's just to help the ball was not going very fast. So
right,
and Carter was on his horse the whole time.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, he was going for two immediately. but you hit 67% of your at bats for ground balls. We earlier in the year we called it death by ground balls when that happened, and it was the same thing there. It was kind of like what we had said. What would it take for this team to lose this series? The young players start acting like young players.
Yeah.
And that happened to some extent. I will say one of the frustrations that kind of built on my end, not on the field, was the fact that this was, I would argue, the third, at least moderately big game or series at the BART this year, and there was not a single representative from the Indy Star or anyone else doing coverage outside of the students and the people who have been there all year were there, but at no point for Iowa, for Louisville, or for Maryland have we seen any coverage from Indy Star or any of what I'd call the big boy media. And that is insane and frustrating and obvious and like honestly pathetic. So I do want to call that out because that should not be happening. I get early season when both basketballs are still postseason, and I get that. They're not home most of the time for that anyway. I get it. But to miss out on Iowa, Louisville, and Maryland with the way this team has been playing, that should not be the case. That's why we exist as a group. That is why we exist. And I guess I appreciate that we exist as a group, but that's still pathetic.
Yeah, and we're not professionals. I
No.
mean, we're doing this because we want coverage, and I and if you want quality coverage, the good news is the quality coverage is there. This particular group of students is just crazy good.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to get that every year, but this season, this group of IU student media is just fantastic.
Phenomenal. Yes, I would agree. And that's been the saving grace, because even when I was in school in those first few years after I graduated, there was nobody doing anything. Honestly, your best source of baseball coverage was Crimson Quarry. That was your best bet to get baseball coverage of some kind.
Yep.
And that's not okay.
That was and during part of that time, that was Alex Robbins.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
Which was why it was so good.
Matt Riccardi picked it up pretty good afterwards.
Yes, he did.
He very much picked it up. There have been quite a few students over the last several seasons who have really picked up the slack. At one point, I was the only person live tweeting fall ball, and now there's
Alex Robbins is actually the first person who I've ever actually like linked onto, because my brother was out here and I wasn't, and he sent me a link from Alex Robbins.
Yep.
2013.
Yep.
He's like, you might want to get into this. He didn't know I was moving out here. We had no plans, but he knows I'm a big baseball guy, and he's like, check this out. We might be pretty good.
Yeah.
And he sent me the link, and it was Alex Robbins.
Yeah. And the crazy thing was he did that while he was in law school. And that just
really?
That's still that absolutely blows my mind. He did that all while he was in law school.
Yeah, I was gonna say he has moved on to bigger and better things as a lawyer.
The first link I ever clicked on about IU baseball was from Alex Robbins. I can honestly admit that.
Yep. And he was one of the best to come through.
Yeah.
As far as baseball coverage is concerned.
Wow.
So we have very much had some phenomenal student media, but that should not be the only media there.
Yeah.
It is inexcusable at this point in time for a team that coming into this weekend was in the hosting discussion, was in the borderline rankings. Like there is no excuse when the primary IU athletics beat writer had no problem getting out for little 500 and you can't come for arguably the biggest home baseball weekend. That's not okay.
Yeah.
And I'm off my soapbox now, but that's just very frustrating. The further away I am from Bloomington, the more that really pisses me off.
Yep. Nope. Can definitely understand that. All right. Well, even in a losing weekend, we have a lot to recognize. So we are going to go ahead and hand out some red belts. Chris was not able to spend as much time paying attention to baseball this past weekend. So Cass and I have decided to take on the mantle of picking the red belts. So. Cass, why don't you give out the hitting red belt?
Okay. So this one was not super difficult. There were a couple of guys in the discussion, but really the only guy who hit consistently over the entire weekend goes to Carter Matheson. Devin Taylor was right up there with his 2 home run day, but Carter was the one who was hitting at least decently all weekend. Couple of home runs, and then on Sunday he did have the RBI double to at that point take the lead. And so he was pretty much the only guy who hit consistently across all 3. So Carter Matheson for the Alex Dickerson.
All right. Well, for the Joey Donato Award, I'm going to take this one here. Obviously, it was a little rough because there were a lot of hits and there was a lot of scoring going on. There were some segments of games where we saw some pretty impressive pitching. Just little short segments. But usually things eventually turned pretty sour for just about everybody that tried to face this just murderer's row of a lineup. Which includes probably at least one guy who is going to probably be a household name for baseball at some point. So there are people who are going to make a living playing baseball on this Maryland team. But as far as the pitching goes, the pitcher I was most impressed with the overall weekend was Wes Burton. He came in a fireman role in the 5th inning of the Friday game when there had already been 7 runs given up that inning. And he was the first pitcher on the weekend that managed to. Now it was split between 2 innings, but he managed to get Schliger, Shaw, LaRusso, and Petrutz all out in order. Schliger and Shaw in the 5th, and then in the 6th, he actually had a 1-2-3 inning strikeout, flyout, strikeout. And in fact, he retired 7 straight Terrapins before. I mean, and essentially, he's typically not gone even that. He doesn't typically face that many batters, but he finally had a couple walks when he started to kind of lose his command. Yeah. Then on Sunday, he got called back in the most bizarre scenario. He got called in while there was an 0-2 count on a batter. Which, granted, I mean, it's nice to start 0-2, but still, it's just that whole of having to come in right in the middle of an at bat. Mm-hmm. So it was a little tricky. He managed. He unfortunately got to a full count, but he did manage to get that guy out. Didn't go too well after that, but being kind of thrown to the wolves like that, that's not easy. So for this weekend, we will give that to our favorite pair of stirrups, Wes Burton.
You gotta love the stirrups.
Yes.
I mean, he doesn't even go with the new school ones. He breaks out the old school ones.
Yes.
Yeah.
Gotta love it.
And thank you guys for taking care of the belts. Obviously I was sick and I really couldn't pay attention as much as I wanted to. And it just didn't feel right to make opinions on stuff I didn't see or hear.
Now, the last one, the Butler Award, I'll just start by saying the infield has just been phenomenal. Mm-hmm. All Absolutely. Around. And we actually had conversations about, which infielder you're going to give it to. You've got Brock the Rock there at first base. You've got Tyler's been doing some great work at second. And you've got at least 2 crazy fantastic robbing of base hits,
leaping grabs
by Philip Glasser.
I think he has pogo sticks for legs.
Did he climb the ladder again?
Yes.
There's no other way to get to that.
He's so good at that. He's so good at that.
Yep. But we were actually going to give this time, and this was we let Josh chime in, and Josh chose the other Josh. He chose Josh Pine. And the point he made to us, it kind of really did, is like, we didn't notice Josh Pine much, but that's the thing. He's making it look so easy that you don't notice it. Mm-hmm. And he's making plays. He's making fantastic throws across the diamond. Just phenomenal defense. And the thing is, the entire team kept this up. The
Yes.
defense was just phenomenal all weekend, despite the fact that they were struggling to get hits. Maryland is just hitting the ball left and right, but the Indiana defense stayed engaged the entire weekend.
Yes.
And that is my brightest spot of the whole weekend was what happened on defense.
Yep.
So I have a hat tip to the entire Indiana defense at every position, but in particular the infield was amazing, and Josh Pine has just been great over there at the Hog Corner.
Yes.
All right, and now we come to the special guest portion of our show. We have a very special guest with us, the Indiana University first baseman, who was also named Scholar Athlete of the Month. We are bringing in Brock Tibbitts. Brock, welcome to Talking Hoosier Baseball.
Thank you guys for having me.
And with that Scholar Athlete of the Month, how's finals week treating you?
It's not too bad. Luckily, haven't had too many in-person finals, so it hasn't been anything too stressful.
Always good to hear.
Yeah.
So I guess just obviously it was a tough weekend facing Maryland. Just kind of what is the feel and the vibe of the team right now as you guys kind of get through finals week and then get ready to hit the road and head up to Evanston?
I mean, it's a positive vibe all around. It's obviously a tough weekend, but we've had a lot of success up to this point, and there's still 3 pretty big weekends ahead of us in the Big Ten. So, we know what's ahead of us, and we know what we have to do the rest of the way. And it's just kind of keeping our mindset forward and kind of not necessarily just pushing to the side, but kind of learning from this weekend and being able to apply it over the next 3 weekends in Big Ten series.
What did you learn from this weekend? Because it definitely seemed to come, out of nowhere. I got to be honest. We haven't seen something like that in a long time. What did you learn from going through something like that?
Just kind of how to deal with failure, I guess. I mean, with all the success we've had, especially over the last, I'd say 2 months. I mean, we kind of started off the year a little slow, but over the last 2 months, we've been playing really well and just kind of got hit in the mouth this past weekend and kind of learning how to deal with that adversity and kind of how to respond to it.
You're a sophomore now. Obviously, there are a lot of freshmen on this team, particularly among the pitching staff. What is your vibe as to how the freshmen who didn't go through what you guys went through a lot of this last year? For them it's kind of new. How are they working through this right now?
I think everyone's working through it pretty well. I mean, with a lot of the leadership of a lot of older guys, transfers and returning guys, it's great to have those guys in the locker room to be able to kind of mentor those young pitchers and just kind of let them know, it happens. Like, it's college baseball. They're a really good hitting team. They played really well this weekend. So not to kind of demoralize them and have them be down after maybe one bad outing or, a few bad pitches. Because as a whole, I mean, they threw pretty well. The Maryland just really executed their plan really well on the hitting side and on the pitching side as well. So, I mean, it was kind of a tip of the cap to Maryland for playing really well this weekend, just kind of sticking to what we do.
Cool. Talk a little bit about the team defensively. Obviously you're a leader in that, as an absolute rock over there at first base. But to me, at least, my impression is, especially over the last month, the seems to be seeing less mistakes on defense and more special plays. And to see that maintained, even as tough as the games were this weekend, that defense stayed rock solid. What does that mean? Are you guys seeing the same thing? And what does that mean to you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it just comes with a lot of reps and kind of because we had a few young guys on the defensive side, just getting more reps, getting more comfortable, with guys in the infield, like me getting more comfortable with Cerny over there on the right side and kind of knowing where he was at, knowing the range that he can cover is different than Tyler Doan's from last year. And just kind of knowing his strengths versus Tyler's and being able to position myself differently because I know what balls that Cerny's going to be able to get to versus Doan's last year. And then, just seeing all those defensive plays, it's really just trying to help out the pitching staff and let them know that we always have their back no matter what the score is, whether we're up 15 runs, whether we're down 15 runs, or whether it's a 1-1 game in the ninth, just knowing that no matter what, we're going to be playing the best defense possible and, letting them know to make whatever pitch they need to and have confidence in what pitches they throw, because we're going to have a great defense behind them, be able to make plays for them.
Can you also talk a bit about holding runners? Because that's something the team does. I mean, we're seeing a lot more throws over to you during games.
I think more than I've ever seen.
So kind of just talk about, and I mean, just also, there's been other plays where, you're looking at small balls going to the right side and you having to coordinate with the pitchers on defense, and obviously there's a lot of pitchers now. Said over 20 guys have thrown so far.
Yeah, I'd say on the holding runner side, that comes a lot from Coach Glant and kind of how he is able to sequence between calling pitches, calling pickoffs, and it's a lot more helpful with the new pitch comp system that we have. And the pitch clock obviously makes it a little more difficult too, because you can't always hold runners and just kind of stand there on the mound for as long, because then you'll get the pitch clock violation. So being able to sequence between the calling a pickoff and calling a pitch and kind of holding runners is a lot different dynamic now, just because everything's a little more sped up with the pitch clock. So I mean, a lot of practice with the pickoffs and everything, I think, has helped a lot this year.
I don't think we can go further without talking about you at the plate. Honestly, it's been an amazing season at you, statistically at the plate, and you obviously seem comfortable. You really don't seem to have any issues battling back from last year. Coming sophomore, a lot of times you hear sophomore jinx, you hear all this stuff. It hasn't bothered you a bit. How are you feeling at the plate?
I mean, I feel great at the plate. I've been really trying to stick to my plan, my approach a lot more this year, and just kind of trust myself a lot more with the work that I've put in, especially over the last, year or two, working with, Coach Weatherford, Coach Simmons, Coach Mercer. They really helped me out a lot with kind of feeling myself at the plate and kind of being able to play with my strengths at the plate and, just feel a lot more comfortable at the plate.
Do you use a lot of the analytics, the video stuff, or all the bells and whistles?
Nothing too crazy. I would say video helps a lot. Being able to, sometimes I see like different in the video than what I feel at the plate, and just kind of being able to apply that back into, during the week in the cages, kind of feeling it out, and then, taking video during the week while I'm, in the cages and being able to see what I'm feeling, so that, I can kind of get a gauge onto, what I need to apply at the plate.
And I know it's been really encouraging, just looking at some numbers, seeing those strikeouts come down quite a bit compared to similar point last year, and always love to see that kind of progression.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I just am trying to, obviously nobody wants to strike out, but I mean, I think I've tried to just kind of flip the mindset from not striking out to more just trying to put the ball in play and kind of seeing, if I can find a hole, the defense will make a mistake, just trying to put the ball in play and keep the train moving.
Is there anything in particular any message you had for the fans or anything you wanted to communicate to the fans today?
I would just say stick with us. It's a long road ahead, and should be a fun last 3 weeks.
Excellent. All right, Brock. Well, thank you so much for joining us on Talking Hoosier Baseball this week. We'll be paying attention from afar as you guys head up to Evanston to take on Northwestern. So best of luck.
Thank you. Appreciate you guys having me on.
Thanks for your time, man.
Absolutely.
Very much so.
All right. Well, I've got a few points that I feel like I need to kind of address the postseason resume and RPI, because RPI has fallen a bit. I talked about it in an article about a week and a half ago that kind of expected that there was a weekend like this that was going to happen. It just kind of felt like this team was running the table, and at some point it's going to catch up to you. But if you look at the season as a whole, and I think I mentioned this to both of you earlier, if you would have put this resume out the way it was written as to, how the team was doing, third in the Big Ten, 9-6 in the Big Ten, 31 wins, solid RPI range, to get into the tournament. We all would have loved this resume if it had been handed to us at the 1st of February. Would I be wrong in that?
Absolutely not.
No.
So, and the team is still there. Yes, they're going to have to take care of business, and it really is. It's a matter of taking care of business down the road. They've got, in Big Ten, you got 3 Big Ten series left. You're going to Northwestern. Absolutely got to take care of business. Northwestern has not been doing that, so Indiana's got to take care of business this coming weekend.
Yep.
Purdue's going to be tough. They're on the upswing. They're playing really good baseball right now. So Purdue's going to be coming to the BART the weekend after. And then the number 2 team in the Big Ten awaits in East Lansing for that final series. So Indiana's got to kind of figure out how to get past this weekend and get back to it. But provided they can do that, and again, they don't have to run the table. But I figure 8-3, 7-4, something in that range to finish the season is probably what they need to do to be in a decent range going in, and then they're going to have to win a game probably in Omaha if you put those 2 things together. Now, obviously, some combination of that, and of course, a lot of that's also going to depend on just what happens nationally. Where the rest of the teams fall, how the bubble teams work, and then of course stolen bids. And the Big Ten tournament is often a source of a stolen bid, where somebody like Michigan could get on a tear and win that tournament like they did last year. I mean, Michigan basically stole Rutgers' bid last year. So, but you got a lot of really good mid-major teams that if they don't win their conference tournaments, that are going to reduce the number of real at-large bids that are available. I'll tell you, I'll be paying attention to that, and you'll start seeing some stuff on the site that I'll write about, kind of looking at those stolen bids and kind of if you're watching other college baseball games, especially during tournament week, you'll know who you should be rooting for. Those high RPI mid-major teams are going to be fan favorites going into that tournament week.
Yes.
When I was younger, there was a guy named Bill Parcells, and he'd always say, your record is what it says you are, right? And what are we, 31-14?
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty good,
Yes.
And as another football reference, and I gotta bring this up because I wasn't as plugged in this weekend as I wanted to be, but I mean, I can still, take from it what it is. December 6th, 2010, the New York Jets were 10-1, and so were the New England Patriots. And we played them in New England, and we got smoked 45-3. But 3 weeks later, after sending Peyton Manning home in Indianapolis, by the way, we go into New England and we beat them 28-21. So, sometimes things happen during the regular season that don't lead to the postseason.
Yep.
That's all I'm saying. You are what your record says you are. And what happens in the regular season doesn't always lead to what happens in the postseason. I'll just kick out some football terms for that one.
I think that was pretty well it, other than just kind of a general, kind of piggybacking off that a little bit. The sky's not falling. Even with as young as this team is, I really do not see them not righting the ship. I don't see them falling to pieces. Yes, it was a rough weekend, but it wasn't that rough. Things were still going well, just not well enough. So I'd say don't panic yet. The team coming up and knocking on some wood a little bit. They've got 7 wins at the moment on the whole season. Not Big Ten wins. They've got 7 total wins. That gives a prime opportunity for some solid bounce back.
I mean, will they really look right again then, though? I mean, honestly, they won't. Because we're playing a team that we should boat race.
Right.
And the team that we wanted to
Right.
step up and play good against, we didn't. And that's okay.
Right. Well, and that's the
Sometimes you
thing,
get punched in the mouth.
Yep.
right. And if
We got
punch North,
killed.
and if we
We
punch
got
Northwestern in the mouth,
Right, but we
That's what we're-
should. But
Right.
we should.
right. That's
We
what I
got
mean.
smoked by a team we should be competitive against.
Yes.
So
And
we
that
can't say Northwestern fixes that.
No,
You
I'm
know
not
what
saying it
fixes that?
fixes-
Winning in the tournament.
Right. I'm not saying it fixes that. I just
No,
mean
it won't.
No, I just mean that if we can do that, if we can boat race Northwestern, which we've had some history of in the last few years,
Yeah, but it doesn't
if we
fix
can
what
do-
happened.
It doesn't fix, but it gives an opportunity to regain confidence going into tougher.
I'm not sure if it would though. I'm not
me,
sure
if
if it
there-
would in that room because they know they're supposed to do that.
Fair, but to me, if there's a time, if we have to play Northwestern, this is kind of where I don't mind. Like, I would hate to have like Maryland and Iowa back to back.
I mean,
Something
looking
like
at the
that.
schedule, I mean, I think this is all about the postseason now.
Oh yeah,
Just get in
Yep.
and show that you can bounce back from what happened
yep,
this weekend because we got smoked.
Yep.
yep.
We got
But you
smoked
can also-
45-3.
But you can
I
you
mean,
can
it's not you could say. There's
Yeah, well,
nothing you could say.
well, the hitting was a lot better on Sunday,
Yes.
and that was against their statistically
But you
best
know
pitcher.
what? If we
Right.
lose 2, aren't we out in the postseason?
Well,
So there's no
I think-
Sunday.
all I think Cassidy is saying, Chris, is that from watching the team, we're not seeing this causing a slide,
Right.
causing the team to not play as well as
I'm
they
not-
have
no,
played.
No, I think
That's
we're
all I
gonna-
think. I think that's all
we're
Cassie's
gonna-
talking about.
Oh,
Right.
trust me. I
Right,
think we're
right,
going
right.
to keep winning and keep winning and keep winning, and it's not going to matter.
Yeah.
Because all that's going to matter is June 1st.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
Right.
Like beating Northwestern and Purdue and Michigan State and all these other teams, it doesn't matter.
That's a means to an end.
Right.
Yeah. No, honestly, that's what it is.
Mhm.
We're going to have to show up on June 1st, just like the Jets did when they knocked out the Colts and they beat the Pats.
Yep.
Because we can't change what happened
Nope.
when the teams were level and we got smoked. So we'll go to the postseason and we'll show off then.
There were 2 other points I had. One was an interesting answer that Coach gave when you talked about, 2 big problems that happened this weekend were the second innings of both the Friday and Saturday games when there were big opportunities, first and second, nobody out, and nothing happened from that. And I asked a bit about that on Sunday because Hunter Jesse had struggled in those situations, and then he ended up having a very solid day on Sunday. So I would just point that if you have an opportunity to listen to the Sunday post game, there was some good information about what they're working on with Hunter's swing. That he actually had a bit of an injury that I wasn't really aware of a few weeks into the season,
Yeah.
and his swing just wasn't right coming out of that, and they're in the process of fixing that. And they felt that was a big piece of that, was that he was kind of trying to cheat on fastballs, and that was leading to strikeouts. And in fact, he actually was getting on with free passes on Sunday, because he's able to get on fastball timing now, and is able to make better swing decisions earlier and be able to make smart swing decisions and take good pitches. The other point I would make is something that I noticed even during the 8th inning on Saturday, which was one of the worst innings of Indiana baseball, let's be honest, we've ever seen.
Yeah.
The stands were still packed. Absolutely packed. This fan base showed out, and and stayed with it, even as rough as that was. This fan base stayed with it. And I mean, I'm looking out both sides of the press box, and I'm just like, it is absolutely packed here. So I just have to say thank you to Hoosier Nation for coming out. And our message obviously is stick with this, because I just say, hey, stick with it, because it's absolutely it's absolutely worth it. And hey, got rivalry week's coming in 2 weeks, so
Yes.
Let's hope we get some good weather.
Yep.
Yes.
If we get some sun and we get some 75 for Purdue, it's going to be packed.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But this 40-degree May days, I don't know about you Indiana folks. I'm not used to this.
Yeah, I know, and I've been trying to bike to work in the morning too. It's been not fun.
Somebody told me Indiana May it may be good, it may be
Maybe
bad.
bad. Uh-huh.
Now let's go ahead and move on to our B1G Pick'em week. We have a new leader. Last year's champion Cass is back in the lead at 18-10. Completely just bypassed Josh and putting him into second place. Josh is a series behind now. Chris and I, though, we're only a series behind Josh.
Let's
So
go.
all of us
Let's
are
go.
within 2 series. This
Let's
is
go.
3-week stretch run. Anything can happen. It's anybody's game.
Yes.
We are ready to rock and roll. And I think Chris is he's just at it now. So I'm going to let him pick first. Chris, what are your picks for this week?
All right. First of all, I'm going for the Rutgers at home against Penn State.
Okay.
I'm going to go Ohio at home because Ohio State's a very bad team. I mean, I know why I'm picking that one. Michigan State at Illinois.
You're saying you're picking Iowa. Then.
Iowa, yeah.
Okay, you said Ohio, so I was confused.
No, I said Iowa at home against
froze.
Ohio State.
Okay.
I probably froze.
Oh,
because I
okay. It
don't have
sounded
my
like
thing.
Ohio. So okay, I was confused. Okay, sorry.
No, hell no. Ohio State sucks. I'm going to take Iowa. I'm going to take Michigan State just because it would help us, to give them some more wins before we play them. I'm going to take Nebraska because, that's why. And then I'm going to take Michigan, even though you would think I wouldn't, but I think that's the smart play. And I know Cass is like the new boss, same as the old boss. I understand the song. I've heard it before, but I still want to catch her. And Michigan seems like the smarter play.
All right. Cass, what do you got?
And Feeney, I was just trying to figure out how to turn my monitor to the camera so that you can see my picks, and my hands have been in front
The
of the
same?
camera. No.
Oh, okay.
One off.
That would have been nuts if we were the same again.
Yep. As much as I would like Nebraska to win, I think it's going to be Maryland.
Yeah, I couldn't do it.
Everything else, so many of the favorites were home for this one. Rutgers, Iowa, both at home.
Mm-hmm.
I think Michigan State's the better team over Illinois, home or away.
Fair.
And same with Michigan over Minnesota. I think they're the better team, home or away.
Well, this week is going to have virtually no drama.
Oh, no.
Because Chris's pick of Nebraska is the only variation for all 4 of us.
Go Huskers.
So Chris will either gain a series or lose a series.
It's all right here. It's all right there, baby.
Because I look at Josh's picks. I'm like, those are the same as mine. And then Cass just gave hers. Like, she just gave the same as Josh and I. So,
hey,
I was like,
sometimes they say there's a Super Bowl hangover,
and
I'm going to hope the Terps have one.
Oh yeah.
And I had much of the same. I was actually a little there. I'm just like, I did that the other week though, and that didn't work out for me. So I'm just gonna stick to buy the book pick, and I did my buy the book picks. So
yep.
I'm not mad at anybody. I'm just saying that's how I went with it.
But
Yeah.
but I am fine if Nebraska wins that. I will be absolutely thrilled.
Oh, so will I.
Nice, nice. I actually took them to sweep. I don't know if I told you that.
I don't know that that'll happen, but I would
took
love
them to
that if
sweep.
it does.
I took them to sweep.
All right. So that will definitely mean that Cass will remain in the lead.
Wait, what if they sweep?
Because
Then you'll catch Josh in second place.
right.
And Cass will still be
I'll
the
still
new
be
boss,
one
same as
ahead.
the old boss?
Yep.
Fine.
Yeah, you can gain one. You're behind 2 series. You can gain, but you can cut into that lead with 2
Yes.
series
I'll
to
take
go.
it.
So
Oh yeah.
I'll take it.
yeah,
I'll
see, and I
take it.
can't. You see, that's just it. I'm stuck at 2 series back. So
Well, last week I didn't do that well, but I like what Coach Mercer said. We're gonna all be goldfish. Ted Lasso is the man.
Yep. Absolutely. All right. Well, I think we have now covered everything. I don't think I forgot
think
anything
so.
at this point. Because I'm having a week. Okay, and I even wrote down notes this week, and I didn't, and I like forgot key things on the list. So.
It feels like Monday, and that's throwing everything off.
Well, listen, we haven't been swept at home in like a million years.
Right.
The fact that we're a little off is expected.
That makes sense.
The closest I can remember is losing Friday and Saturday in Nebraska and then tying on Sunday.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Yep.
that's the closest I can even remember to
Yeah, that
this.
felt that bad.
Yeah.
No, and I agree. That's why I bring it up.
Yeah.
That's why I bring it up. I mean, it was rough, you know. I've been through some really bad sporting events. I'm not gonna lie to you. Between the Mets, the Jets, the Islanders, the Knicks, you know, and there's been plenty of times where I just wish, you know what? I wish I was an opera fan. Because when you go to the opera, you enjoy it. Like either way, you don't boo the singer.
Mhm.
You're not like so disappointed because your team lost. But you know what? I'm not an opera fan. I'm a sports fan. And sometimes you lose.
Yep.
And sometimes you get smoked.
Mhm.
And
an
sometimes
IU
you say, you know what? We have an opportunity to bounce back because it's not game 7 of the damn NLCS of 2006. And I'm not going home. And the series isn't over. And the season isn't over. The season isn't over, folks.
Yep.
We got killed. We got killed in many different ways. But it's not over yet. And you know what? Give me a shot to bounce back and I'll take it. Because why give up now? Because we got killed by a Maryland team on some weekend in April or whatever? No, I'm not going to do that.
Yep.
We got killed. I'll admit it. I'll state it. And I'm going to move on.
Well, it's everyone has a plan until you get punched in the mouth.
Right. Mercer
We-
said it in the post game.
We,
Right.
we got
It's Mike
punched in the
Tyson.
mouth. Yeah, we got
Yeah,
punched
it's
in the
Mike Tyson.
mouth. Now to see.
Yeah,
How
that's
they
why
respond.
that's why he said that in the press conference, because that's the one that you go to when you hear that.
Yep.
And I mean, it happens. And we might not succeed in the postseason.
Yep.
And we might not do well when we go to the Big Ten tournament. But you know what? I'm not going to say we won't, because this team has done really well all year long.
Yep.
This is the team that has won 15 in a row with the Bard. This is the team that won 22 home games. Yeah, and it's the team that got swept for the first time since Kyle Schwarber's been in high school. So what? We'll see what happens in June.
All right. Well, with that, I think we're going to go ahead and call that a podcast. So I think I think we all know where we sit on this, and we're now it's look to the next series. Go take care of business up in Evanston. So that will do it for this edition of Talking Hoosier Baseball. Be sure to continue to follow at IUBase17 on Twitter and all of our other social media and IUBase.com. And we'll continue to provide coverage as the season progresses. For Chris Feeney and Cassidy Palmer, I'm Carl James. See you at the BART.